Excited for the Warzone update later?
Of course.
Yeah.
What do you expect to get from this joint practices?
I think it should be some really good work. Get a chance to go over what we've been working on with a different team and face different opponents and just see where we're at in this training camp.
Did it look like you got banged up early yesterday in practice? What happened? Are you okay?
I just got rolled up on by a player, a little mild ankle sprain, but I'll be good to go today.
You practice today?
Yeah.
How different is this camp, your second camp for you, now that you've played the position?
I feel a lot more comfortable. The game's a whole lot slower than it was last year. The playbook is thoroughly completed in my mind, and I just feel like everything I'm doing right now is a lot more advanced than I was a year ago.
Is there one thing that Coach Callahan had you thinking of working on in the off season to prepare for training camp?
Nothing specific. It was a combination of everything. Just want to be a lot better than I was last year, so just improving in all aspects.
When you look back, I mean, we've talked about just going from right to left, not having any preseason or any real off season. You look back at it and think how tough that was for you, and how proud of yourself you are that you were able to succeed despite all that.
It was definitely a tough time, especially switching positions and not having that first-hand help. But I feel like everything that I was expected to do, I lived up to. And now with having this opportunity and have it there at my hands, I expect to be a lot better.
Do you feel like you kind of have that muscle memory now to playing on the left side?
Yeah, I feel very comfortable on the left side.
Is it something, Jed, that you've really concentrated on improving footwork or whatever it might be? Anything that out here you can see, yeah, I'm doing that better?
I would say, kind of referring back to what he said, was just the comfortability. Being able to be comfortable with my stance, being able to be comfortable with my hands and the movements, and still working on that, and just want to improve every day.
Looking back on it, what was the toughest thing you had to learn to play left tackle?
I would say the best way to put it is you wake up one day and you're just automatically left-handed and you've been right-handed your whole life. So that was pretty much how it felt whenever I had to make that transition. Just like waking up and completely different footwork aspects, using my hands, even like simple as having a left tip with my head. It was a whole different new
Even
game.
before you got to last year's camp, weren't you doing things like opening doors with your left hand and brushing your teeth? Did they tell you to do that? Where did they hear that?
No, I didn't
Would have been a
do
good
that.
idea. So now, it's no pure lefty. You combing your hair left-handed?
No, I wouldn't say that, but on the field I'm comfortable with the left side.
Was the adjustment tougher run blocking or pass protection?
I feel like it was the whole aspects of the game, yeah.
And when you went back and watched film of yourself last year, did you feel like you did one area better than the other?
I don't know. I feel like everybody has their different grading systems, but I feel like I can definitely improve in both areas. But looking at it a year ago, I thought I was trash compared to this year.
Yeah.
Watching film, it's a brand new game when you try on the film this year.
Yeah.
Do you think you were slowed by not having preseason games as a rookie?
No, I wouldn't use it as an excuse. I say we all had the same opportunity.
I know you had battled Miles out here last year in camp, but we watch him when he was before the hamstring, when he was out here. It just seems like such a tough test every time you're up against him. Like, how much do you gain from those daily competitions?
You gain a lot. After going against Miles, I pretty much blocked every single body else on the roster. And you never see anybody else like him throughout the league. He's probably the best premier pass rusher that we have on our team and then throughout the whole NFL. And you just see so many different combination of moves. Like some guys, you stop them at the very first move, and Miles is giving you 3 and 4. So it's a whole new game when you're going against Miles.
You were a rookie last year, but now in your second year, you're still the youngest in the group. Do you still feel like that, or is it now like you guys are all feeling like veterans and coming back?
I feel that we all feel like veterans. Of course, those guys have been here like since I was coming out of middle school. But I feel comfortable, and I just can't wait to see the group come together and what we have for year 2.
And what does it mean with this offensive line that you're all back, and especially with what you guys dealt with last year, where someone was injured, it seemed like along the way. What kind of excitement do you have to play all together this year?
A lot of excitement, and just hoping that everybody stays healthy so we can, develop week in and week out without having to put a different guy in and kind of develop that same chemistry.
Was there a guy you went up against last year that kind of like it was cool, or like you were excited to go against, or something like that?
Not really. I feel like my best time was going against Obi and Miles in practice, but there wasn't really anything in the game that really stood out more than others.
What's the biggest thing you learned from Joe last year?
I would say still developing that poise. Really, he was just trying to get me comfortable in that position last year and help me with everything that I needed to be, as long as it was just like being slow with my eyes, or just kind of trying to stand there during the snap count, just keeping that poise in big time games and even in just regular games. Yeah, so just being poised in that position.
When you look at the other guys across the line, they might be the best line in the league, and 4 guys that are kind of proven. Do you feel like maybe an added responsibility that you have to live up to those guys' levels just because they've done it for so long?
Of course, that's the whole name of the game, because it's not like receivers where you can take 2 plays and then go out. We're in. It's just us 5 the whole entire game unless somebody gets hurt. So we all have the same amount of responsibilities on our shoulders.
Hey, Jed, I know that players at all positions play hurt, but it seems like offensive linemen seem to deal with a lot of stuff. And just the fact that you got rolled up on yesterday in your practice, how much pride do you take in that, being able to be available as long as you can?
Definitely want to name ourselves as the toughest group on the field. Like you said, somebody gets hurt, and like if you get deemed out a receiver, you can't run the same exact route. But at offensive line, no matter what happens, like we could play with three or four dislocated fingers and still have the same job. So just trying to name ourselves as the toughest group on the field and put everybody on our backs.
So how sore or hurt were you at by the end of last season? Because you had 16 games and 2 playoff games. How sore were you?
I stayed fairly healthy. I got hurt in the very first Baltimore game, and I went out in the fourth quarter. I played pretty much that whole entire game hurt. And then I had that last injury with the Kansas City game on the very first play of the game. I had a high ankle sprain. But other than that, I stayed pretty much healthy. I mean, a couple dislocated fingers and things like that, but that's normal.
Jed, do you look at the Giants D-line headed into this at all, or what kind of tests you're going to get?
We watched a little bit of the film when we played them last year, but of course they got some new guys on the line and probably a different scheme for coming into here. But really just it's practice and just try to get the best work out of it.
One thing that we've seen in the past that you weren't here, but the Browns practiced with the Colts a couple of years ago, and there were a bunch of fights and stuff. And Stefanski, has told us that want to treat these guys as our guests. And how much has he delivered that message to you guys?
We've heard that about 5 times since last night. That's definitely a big emphasis, especially coming off of what their incident they had about a week ago. We're really just trying to keep everybody out here and just make sure that we stay out of those type of situations.
Do you think that, some old school coaches are like, hey, it's not really a training camp until there's a fight. Mm-hmm. But you guys haven't done that in this camp so far. Like, do you think that's the smarter way to go? Or has that been a point of emphasis?
I would say that most of the time people fight when they feel like they're insecure. And those things happen when everybody's immature. So I feel like we have a very mature group. I feel like the Giants are going to come in here very mature. And, I mean, if you have to defend yourself, you have to defend yourself. But at the end of the day, you want to stay away from the situation. There's no point in fighting because all it does is cause injuries most of the time.
Hey, Jed, thanks. You were in a college program where the expectations are unlike just about anywhere else. How much does that help you then to kind of stay in the moment and not get too far ahead of yourself here, especially with this season and what it's supposed to be?
I would say that it helped even more when I was first coming in. Those expectations that I lived up to were the same as coming here, and it's doing nothing but help me develop coming into year 2. So I definitely keep that in the back of my mind because it's pretty much the same situation.
How hard was it going out in the first play of that playoff game?
It was tough. I went back to the locker room. They're doing everything they could. I got about 4 different tape jobs. Tried to juice it up a little bit. And it was just I had a very high ankle sprain that lasted me for about 2 months of rehab after the season. But it was tough just watching those guys on like my phone on the app, and so I'm very excited for that first game that we have this year.
Jed, did you get to spend any time with Joe Thomas when he was here? I think it was last week.
A couple of days. I got to talk to him just like right over here in this tent actually. I just kind of go through some things and what he saw and what he could help me with, and then he also shot me some text after that scrimmage that we had that following Sunday. So still keeping up with him a little bit.
Had you met him in person before?
That was my first time.
Are you bigger than you were last year?
I'm actually smaller. Last year at the end of the season I was around 328. And this year I came in around 313. I think I'm about 315, 316 right now, and I had about 18% body fat coming in. So,
this year? And what was that? What was that last year then?
Don't know, but my emphasis was definitely adding more muscle. So.
You didn't need any procedure on the high ankle sprain, did you?
No, just rehab.